Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesman Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen. My name is Josh, and of course, on the other mic, on the other camera, across the table is Mr. Nate Newton. Nate, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm pretty excited to move into the next year. We got a lot of, we did a decompression meeting, and that went really fucking well, and everybody's in alignment again, we aired a lot of stuff out, and we really pinned down what the direction of the business is. And I mean, we're already moving that direction, so now it's just implementation, and we all kind of know what we need to be doing here. So
I also thought that we did a good job of setting up the growth plan conversations for the team.
Yeah, which we haven't gotten to it yet this week. This week's been a little hectic with some of it's so much fun setting steel in the snow up there at Clear Creek. That's a whole other fucking element, so, but between like hauling steel up there and, helping the boys get stuff set and whatnot, like we haven't been able to pull people into the office yet, but whether it's because we're on 410s right now, so they have Fridays off, and they'll have this upcoming Monday off. So hopefully we can squeeze a couple of them in on Thursday, and then try to get the rest of them in on Tuesday of next week. So
what's important is once you start, you get through them.
Yeah.
You don't want them scattered out. If you don't start till after the first of the year, that's okay. Once you start them, you need to get them done.
Yeah. We've only got 6 crew members,
right.
So it's like we can get that done in a day,
When you guys came in here, because I asked you to come here for the year-end meeting.
We would never get anything done if it was at our shop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, just come to the office, come down here, separate you from everything. And you guys were like, how long do you think this is going to take? And I knew it was going to be about a 3-hour meeting. And it was a 3-hour meeting.
Yeah. Matt didn't have to keep answering his goddamn phone over here. That's like shit. There's a bunch of stuff going on in the field. That's like he had to take those fucking calls. You know? Otherwise, you got people standing there at $125 an hour not doing shit.
Yeah. Well, the operations don't stop.
Right.
Same thing I tell my clients when we're in the middle of a coaching call. Sometimes they have to talk to somebody on their team or answer the phone or talk to a client. I'm like, hey, I understand how business works.
Right.
You can't completely separate yourself for this 60 to 90 minutes. I get it. Trust me. But it was really important, and I think it's good. People need to they need to be able to detach or remove themselves from the operation of the business. You guys were lucky enough that we just came here, but literally, as crazy as this may sound, don't go to a restaurant. Too much fucking distraction going on. But rent a conference room in a local hotel. Go to the community center. Go remove yourself. Take the necessary team members and have a conversation removed from that. If you need to cater lunch or something, by all means, go ahead. But creating that alignment, and that's what I liked about. It's like, oh, this was our decompression session, the year-end decompression. It was a decompression for 2022, and it was a realignment for 2023.
Right. Yeah, we really got to highlight, where we were doing really well at, and, find out what markets we were going to go after the hardest. And, it was like, the question came up, like, what do you need to quit doing? And it's like, we've actually kind of already trimmed the fat on that, which is good. And like the stuff we do want to say no to, we made a commitment to not say no to it. So as much of a pain in the ass as it is, like we're going to continue to do like small repair stuff for people just because there's nobody else to fucking do it, and it's more of a community outreach type thing. But if we could just find some fucking retired dude and just worked him 2 or 3 days a week, and he just had like his own bay, and that's all he did was fucking repair trailers and shit, like that would be perfect, Doesn't mean we don't really make a lot of money doing it,
right? Well, you're not losing,
right,
per se.
Yeah,
you're just. It's a service that you offer to the community, the local other businesses. I know probably half the trailer repairs you get are from other businesses.
Yeah.
Other contractors.
Or it's somebody that's just moved here from California and they have no idea how to run a dump trailer. They don't tie the doors back.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. So when they tilt it up, it jams on the doors and rips them off. And so we actually stock the hinges now for them. Like all the hardware that's on the back of those big Tex dump trailers, all the latches and hinges and all that shit, we have them all in stock because we go through them so fucking quick. We're just like, we can't leave this trailer sitting here for 3 days while we wait for something to show up. So
smart. One of the questions that I had asked, and by the way, I had sent you guys an email kind of, preemptively to the conversation about 2 weeks out. It's like, hey, these are some of the conversations that we're going to have. Mm-hmm. And there was a part of that meeting that we steered it to personal goals. Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, where do you guys want to be in 5 years?
Right.
And, what are the things that you want to accomplish? And without sharing anything, I will tell you guys, like, I was really impressed with your guys' 5-year goals. I really was. And I think it's important to take time to occasionally look out a little bit, look ahead a little bit.
It had been a long while since I had done that, I've been so caught up in my own bullshit for the last 6 months that that's been the furthest thing from my mind has been, what am I actually fucking working towards, and I've been on my heels a lot lately. So now it was good to realign myself, And I saw that in that meeting. I saw that high sense of alignment and realignment, even as individuals, even for myself, because of the, just the role that we play in each other's lives, the three of us, business, personal, social, everything. And it was a good realignment for me as well. And I liked the fact that you guys took the time to kind of set your scope out a little bit, 5 years. Like, these are the things that I would like to have. Great, let's reverse engineer it. And kind of start looking at moving that needle a little bit, and understanding that it is possible. The goals that you guys had are completely attainable. They're possible. It just takes focus. Takes the work.
Yeah. Having that consistency and that discipline and doing those things. So
I think it really opened up our eyes to also what we don't have to do to make those, the goals are realistic. We don't have to work 80 hours a week to make this stuff happen, and it's the stuff that we're looking at doing. It'll make us very wealthy people. If we can accomplish the goals that we have set for the next 5 years, we're going to be pretty fucking wealthy by that point,
And something that kept coming up in the meeting, and it comes up often in our conversations, was creating the opportunity to build wealth and good income for the people on your team. There was nothing about the strategy where it was like, okay, well, once we get our team up to here, we're going to start taking all of this money. It was like, no, how can we continue to grow and develop opportunity for income for the people on our team? Because you understand that's going to create the opportunity for the result that you want by doing that. So kind of lifting all ships.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't like, oh yeah, we're just going to keep a standard market value of income. And one of the conversations I had today, he's getting ready to start building a team next year. That's in his 2023 business model. And he brought it up. He said, one of the things that you and they talk about is financial literacy and giving that to your team.
Right.
Like, it's so valuable.
Dude, the amount of money that our rig welders have put back, and then one of the guys needs to get a new machine, and he's like, dude, I don't want to put all that money up front. Like, can I give you half? And then he's like, if I buy it up front, it's going to take out half of what I've got. And I'm like, you got how much, motherfucker? Like, damn, good for you, buddy. But they have that. Most of them have a year operating expense put back. Not even 6 months. They've got a year put back. And it's like, they definitely don't want to tap into that. But I'm also like, this is also kind of what that is for, the emergency thing,
Well, if they have an emergency fund and they have a tooling or investment fund, looking to, separate those, create some, understanding, diversity, if you will, what's going to allow you to continue to grow. Because that's the other thing too, is the business term is you have to spend money to make money kind of thing. Well,
if you're just that's dumb, because it's going to McDonald's is spending money. Right.
Investing money will give you a return.
Right. And
you have to do that as an individual, as a technician, in yourself. You have to continue to invest in tooling and your industry, because your team has the opportunity to provide their own rig. Well, that's truck, welder, tooling. It's a large investment. but it's an investment.
Yeah. I mean, you're just to set up like a baseline rig, you're going to be into it $20,000, you know, and that we'll help them out, you know, however, which way we can, you know, and that was the deal that was struck with one of the guys. It was like, give us half now, and then, you know, we'll figure out some sort of payment plan for the rest of it, you know. And it's even better if we because they get rig checks. So it's like if we take it out of their rig check, they're not getting taxed on that. You know, it's pre-tax. So it's advantageous to them, you know. So,
yeah, there's ways. There's ways that you can serve your team and create opportunity in the company for the people to make good incomes, to improve their skill set, improve their knowledge, and continue to grow as individuals.
Right.
So, and that was a really big part, because one of the questions in the conversation was, all right, what does training look like for next year? Where do you need to set training? So we talked about, what does that look like? How do we set that up? And just kind of really broke that down again into digestible pieces. It's like performance tests every quarter or, you know, twice a year. And, we need training on this. And it's just, there's so many small moving pieces in a company. And to me, it doesn't matter if you have one person or 100 people. When you look at the fundamental operating systems of your company and fundamental operating opportunities of your company, it's going to scale to the size of company that you have, but you still have to have those in place. You still have to have those metrics. You still have to have those systems that's going to allow you to lead those people and create that growth. But you have to do it. Right.
And that's that. I mean, it's easy to go in and get all pumped up about the year-end meeting, be like, fuck yeah, this and that, you know, we're all sunshine and rainbows and we know where we're going. Okay, well, go fucking do it, you know. That's because that is the hardest part, is the implementation of all this shit, you know, and that nitty-gritty aspect of it, you know, once that feel good wears off and all that's left is the work, you know, that's what makes or breaks people right there.
Completely agree. I want to talk a little bit about the toolbox, the merch, the coaching. The toolbox, when this comes out, so the week that this comes out will be the final rebuild of the toolbox. So all of the videos will have been re-recorded in high definition. Everything is on screen digital now instead of me doodling on a giant notepad.
That shit handwriting of yours.
or the glass blackboard. So everything is upgraded in there now. And then immediately following that is going to be, I'm going to dump like 6 or 8 new videos in there for training. For example, the easy button is going in there. Walk me through your plan is going in there. So there's 6 or 8 of those that's going to be immediately following. And then the toolbox will be back on its normal rhythm of 1 to 2 videos a month of updated information. The coaching spots, I've had a lot of conversations since you and I announced it on that podcast 2 weeks ago. I've got, right now, as we are recording, I have 6 spots left. I already have 2 more potentially spoken for, but as of right now, I have 2 spots left for the coaching starting in January. Now that coaching can be hourly or unlimited. I'm not, it's not like it's one or the other.
Right.
For me, I'm taking on 10 new clients. Those spots are available depending on how that client wants to use it. I have got a couple people that signed on that are going to be once a month. And I've got some that are going to be 2 or 3 times a month. That's up to the client.
Right.
I don't tell people it's like, well, you have to do it this way. I make suggestions based on the experience that I've got of what works well. If you got a company of, 5 people or less every other week, that is a sweet spot for that company.
Yep. I mean, that's how we run it. When we first started, we did every week, but well, we were really fucked up there.
And I do make the suggestion based on the information that they give me. If I'm like, hey, let's spend a month together every week, and then let's graduate, or 2 months or 6 months or whatever it works for them. If they're over 5 people, we're going to look at the unlimited, because we're going to need to be looking at scaling, implementation, system development, leadership training. And then they can graduate based on their performance. They can graduate out into once or twice a month. So I got 6 spots available right now. The consults are at no cost. I don't charge people to have a conversation to see if we would be a good fit to work together. So the email, thetradesmanexperience@gmail.com. I had a guy hit me up on Instagram. That's fine too. Just hit me up, have a conversation, and let's see if there's a way that I can help you become successful and that we can create a good working partnership.
Yeah, that's a great way to start the year off,
That's why I'm opening them up in January.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, let's get these companies going. The merch is like, it's like peeking through the curtain at me right now.
Still waiting on a shirt, motherfucker.
Do you see me in? I kind of have one.
Yeah.
I've got this prototype.
Is it one of the crooked ones?
This is the only straight one.
Uncrooked one.
Yeah, it's the only uncrooked one I got. So I wanted them out by Christmas. They just take more time than I allotted for, which really meant I should have started probably a month earlier than I did at getting this shit together. Story of my life.
Yeah.
But that's still coming. So Toolbox Rebuild, coaching spots, the merch, and then the RVT training. So we're launching the Job Box. The Job Box is the toolbox on steroids. Instead of 15-minute or less videos about things and helping, they're topic specific, can walk through. These are going to be in-depth training courses. So the RVT training is going to be it's a 6 or 7 part training. Now it's probably 2 hours collectively of material, but I've broken it down into sections that are specific. For example, one section is how to understand your client. And one section is how to properly communicate and collect. Now, the RVT training is the first online course that's going into the Job Box. The RVT training is designed for residential service companies. Plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and home repair. Outside of that, I will tell you, I'm not sure you'll get much value out of the RVT training. But if you are a service company, it's tailored specifically for you as a service company. Teaching your technicians how to collect on site every call, how to set expectations, what the EFI's role and responsibility is. So we kind of break it out through operations of the company and learn and teach how to create the best experience for the client and how to collect every time.
Fuck yeah.
So so that is going to be, that actually might be in there by the time this podcast comes out. If not, it'll be the week that this episode comes out. That RVT training will be available. All of that is going to be on the website, thetradesmanexperience.com. And there's going to be 2 options, 2 purchase options. One, you can buy the course as is, or you can buy and schedule a live training of the course, and then you get your own copy. So there's going to be two price options there for companies, and they do which one you want. Right. So try to keep it simple. Try to keep the option simple, but try to tailor to 2 different needs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's going to go over too well for structural steel builders or anything like that. Yeah.
Nope, it doesn't at all. If you're doing structural steel, if you're doing landscaping, if you're doing commercial roofing, don't buy it.
Right.
It's very simple. Don't buy it. The next training that's going to be in there after the first of the year is leadership. It's going to be an in-depth leadership
Buy that
training.
one. Yes.
Buy that one. That one's going to be a little more versatile with across the board.
Right.
But it's also going to be 4 to 6 sections, probably 2 hours collectively of training, where we're going to go through understanding personalities, how to communicate, emotional maturity, emotional intensity. Like I'm breaking it down into sections, and so that's going to be available sometime in January.
Fuck yeah.
So,
is that the one we went through?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. You guys were kind of the pilot. I was supposed to be doing a live training this week, and it is getting rescheduled, but you guys got what's going to end up being kind of a synopsis of it. When you guys send your team through it, they're going to get the full immersion training.
Yeah.
So I was really kind of introducing it to you and putting you guys through it at the same time.
Right.
It's like, that's it. So what do you think? And so I'm doing a lot of adding, a lot of correcting in that training just to make it better and more comprehensive.
I think Matt and I had gone to lunch and we got we each got one of those tall meads over there at Great Basin. So I was a little buzzed by the time I got over here for that training. I was like, oh, that mead was a bad idea.
That's so dumb.
Yeah.
So anyway, enough about the business. We're on a roll here of you tabling ideas, and I kind of like it. I kind of like it, and then you sent me this one, and I have a notepad in front of me here.
Oh man, that's how I know it's good.
that's how I know we've got things to talk about. And the topic that you sent me was the art of business,
mm-hmm.
and the way you had worded it was the artistry
mm-hmm.
of business, and then you had sent me a link for a definition. So I wrote down the definition. I'm going to share that, and that's going to kind of kick off this conversation. The definition comes from Wikipedia. It says, the diverse range of human activity and resulting product that involves creative or imaginative talent expressive of technical proficiency, beauty, emotional power, or conceptual ideas.
Oh man. Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of, everybody seems to think the business is this, straight-laced suit and tie, kind of an environment. But if you think about it, the building a business is creating, and I look at art as creating, mm-hmm. and like it says emotional in there, and it has to have some sort of emotional trigger to it. And like I was sitting there thinking, I was just sitting on the couch, just literally staring at a fucking wall. And I was like, we should put some art up in here. I started thinking about business for some reason. I'm like, man, fucking business is kind of like art, like it takes a skill. It takes, mm-hmm. Patience. It takes honing. And you look, the greatest painters that have ever come out, they didn't come out of the womb knowing how to do that shit. They practiced at it and they honed their skills, and you really have to do that in business mm-hmm. to be good at it, you know?
My favorite part of that whole definition is it's in the beginning. It says diverse range of human activity and I underline these two words, resulting product.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really, really brilliant way to describe the art of business,
mm-hmm.
because it is a resulting product. You're there to create a result. And that art is everything that you're doing, and I'm going to speak in unintelligent art terms,
mm-hmm.
But every brushstroke creates that final product, that result.
Mm-hmm.
That's how business works. Every decision, every relationship, every system, every person you hire or fire, everyone that you interact and engage with, every decision that you make is just all of that compounding for a resulting product.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really liked that part of the definition. And then to follow that, it says it involves creative or imaginative talent expressive of technical proficiency.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you have to be, imaginative and creative to bring something new to the market. If you just go in and just do shit like everybody else does, you're not gonna fucking get anywhere mm-hmm. doing that. You're just another gray cog in a machine. And I think that's something that's propelled Matt and I so far in this industry is that we don't operate like everybody else does. We give a fuck about our teams. We treat our clients a lot differently. We, whether it's, even residential or with other contractors, like we give a fuck so much more. And I think that that's really been a, leg up for us mm-hmm. throughout this whole thing. And it takes some imagination and it takes some
innovation
to get that way. Like when people come to work for us that, they've worked other places and they're like, dude, this is a fucking game changer. Like they want to be there every day.
Because companies like yours have a piece in the equation that a lot of companies either ignore or they don't understand the value that it plays in the equation, and that is the human factor.
Mm-hmm.
You can't create a system or a business model and expect everyone to adjust to that model. You don't want everyone to behave exactly the same way systematically.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to remove the human factor.
Right.
You want to encourage creativity.
Mhm.
You want to encourage imagination.
Yeah. Protocol doesn't always equal, the best outcome.
Right.
Like you always say, point A to point B. Here's your time frame. Go get it done. Like, and watch them fucking do this shit. And you're like, dude, that was a way better way than I had planned,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like that helps. I mean, that's innovation right there, right? The art of business drives innovation.
Yep.
This is why we have Elon Musk's and Neuralink and shit like that, because somebody thought outside of the fucking box,
Right. I was in a conversation this morning, brand new client, and he's kind of in a crossroads in his business because he does a couple different. He's very he's got some pretty heavy diversity in his business, and they don't perfectly align with each other. But so he wanted to have a conversation with me, and he was like, "Hey, I'm kind of at this crossroads. I'm trying to decide if I want to niche down on one of these areas that I'm working in, and then how I want to bring that to the market." And so throughout our conversation, I actually brought this question up to him 3 different times in our conversation, not because he didn't understand the question, but because it was relevant to our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him a simple question. I said, "What do you like to do?" It was
People can't answer that fucking question.
right. And
The one that makes me the most money?
yeah, no, it doesn't. You're not going to like that one.
Right.
Right? Because money is a result. So I told him, I said, look, you're wanting to kind of define a direction,
Mhm.
right? And I said, what are you known for? And he said, "I hear you say that all the time on the podcast." And I don't know. He said, I don't know yet. But he said, that's one of the questions that I want to answer with moving in this new direction. And I love that I had that meeting this morning because you and I were going to have this conversation tonight.
Weird. It all falls into place.
It
doesn't
always does.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, it's a question that most people skip when they consider opening a business.
Mhm.
What is it that you like to do? You do all of these different things. You have you have very good diversity and options here. I said, what do you like to do? Then the question is, will the market sustain it?
Mhm.
People want to focus on the metrics of the market first, and then they invest themselves into this idea.
Mhm.
And my experience in working with people too is one of the worst things that you can do is turn your hobby into a full-time job.
It's not going to be your hobby anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
And now that emotional attraction that you had to that hobby is now overwhelmed by the operation of business.
Right.
But I said, just look through all the work that you've done and define what it is that you don't want to do. Define what you enjoy doing. And then let's start looking at the market.
Mm-hmm.
Because to your topic, the art of business, man, if you don't have, and I'm not talking about following your passion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about that at all.
Right.
My point is, if you don't enjoy it, your customers are going to suffer.
Yeah. They're going to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, it stifles so many points that are made in this definition. It's going to kill creativity and imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you don't want to be there, right, your wheels aren't turning in that direction. All you're thinking about is how to not be doing that anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I found myself in that exact situation about 9 or 10 months after I'd started the home repair construction business back in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Because, by the way, I really enjoy doing that stuff. But I wanted to do this more.
Mm-hmm.
This was attracting me heavier than being out there doing the home repair, remodel construction business. So there were a lot of days when I was doing it and doing it well, I didn't want to be there.
Mm-hmm. All you're thinking about is this.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I remember what that feeling was like. Now I'm not bought in.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm not even focused.
Right.
I'm just going through the motions, trying to get the work done. And then the work itself becomes overwhelming because I haven't created and invested in systematic ways to accomplish and be successful.
Right.
So, I asked, that was one of the questions I asked him. I'm like, all right, what do you like to do? Then we can look at the market. One of the questions I have written down here is from the definition. It's like, how are you creating a resulting product?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, are you even producing a product at that point?
Right.
You know, like I think as business owners, we look at, whatever it is that we put out in the world, that's the product. But I mean, at the end of the day, your business is the product, right? That people don't care what you did. They care how you made them feel.
Yeah.
That's kind of your product right there, you know?
That is your product.
Mm-hmm.
And, how are you creating a resulting product? There's so many times a company will go away and they have the best product with the worst delivery.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have the worst experience and worst creating the experience, even though they have the best product.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, how are you creating a resulting product and identifying what that resulting product really is?
Mm-hmm.
And are you able to measure that? And if you are, how are you measuring it?
Yeah.
We had every year, and this is not an exaggeration, for 3 years in a row, every week we had a client call, email, mail, or stop in and shared with us their experience with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell you how awesome you are, right?
They did.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a honeymoon thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to wear off. And it was like year 1, year 2, year 3.
Mm-hmm.
Every week in the team meetings, I'm like, oh, this customer came in, was bragging about Nate. This customer came in, was bragging about Chad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every week, like in the team meetings, I was sharing this, for sake of this conversation, this resulting product
Mm-hmm.
that we had created in the marketplace.
Right.
But
they knew they were going to get their AC fixed.
Exactly.
They didn't know that they were going to get that real creme de la creme of the product.
There was 100 other companies to choose from to solve the problem,
Mm-hmm.
to get the air conditioner fixed. They could have called anyone. Most companies are fairly competent at changing parts.
Right. Right.
And I say that loosely. But to give them the benefit of the doubt, most companies are proficient at changing parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's the art of everything else that they fucking miss.
I know, right? Because I mean, like, especially with welding, it's so easy to look at that as art, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is. There's a masterful skill that you have to develop in order to do that job, and it's visible. Like the proof is right there as soon as you get done.
I'd say it's immediate.
Yeah, exactly. But that's also why welders end up being a bunch of cocksuckers, is because they're like, look at all this pretty shit that I can do, and then they
great I am.
Yeah, exactly. But then they lose sight of their personality and how they should act and interact with other people, and that's why half the other trades end up hating the fucking welders, because they're all a bunch of self-righteous pricks, like, because their art is narrowed to just that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to be kind and work around other trades. And it's like, roll the red carpet out, motherfucker. It's like, no.
Are those spinners on a rig?
Right, dude. Some of these fucking welding rigs that are out there nowadays, especially down in Texas, you can tell that they're all financially illiterate, as they've got every bit of $150,000, $160,000 into a fucking welding rig that they're going to drive out in the dirt and launch sparks at all day. Like, how much debt are you in to drive that fucking thing out here?
Dude, it looks good.
Oh, okay.
Looks
He looks dumb. Fucking. So it's always some little fucker too. He's like 5'6". He's got to get a running start to jump into his truck.
Come from a guy that's 5'7". That's ballsy. The identity becomes attached to the craft itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ability to produce what they consider is a scalable resulting product. And it's that formula is not complete. That equation, all the pieces aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was why I asked that gentleman this morning, like, what do you enjoy doing?
Right.
One thing I will say about welders is I haven't talked to any that hate welding.
Right. Oh, dude. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't do that job if you fucking hated it, Like, because I mean, if you think about art comes from the soul, right? you have to be like, your soul has to be connected to this shit to stand out in 120-degree heat, all leathered up and burning the fuck out of yourself doing this stuff. You know, like you have to have soul into doing that.
I learned that in the diagnostic world, in troubleshooting. You know, there was a wonderful art about it, and I would always joke with people. And I'd walk in, and their furnace, here it is, this thing, you know, it's what it's been doing. I'd put my hand on it and close my eyes, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Your furnace is telling me what's wrong." And I just fuck with people, you know. Mostly. The reality is, if you understand the language, the system tells you what's wrong.
Right.
But it was just like this, to become fluid in that ability.
When the process is second nature.
Yeah. And I remember working with and learning. Learning is a better word than working with. Learning from the masters that taught me that craft. And to observe, like to watch them go through and how they would interact and connect and engage with that broken piece of equipment, and just watch that all unfold and see their mind. They look like a professor wizard, you know. And then they would be like, "Oh, I think the incoming gas pressure is too high." And I'm like, "What?" And this was a real call, by the way. I got my fucking lunch ate on this call, and this was I was known as a good service technician at this time, so I called the guy that I always call when I couldn't figure it out. And like, "Man, it's doing this and this and this." And he's like, I'm gonna come by. I'm gonna come out there. So all right. So he comes out and he's talking to this unit, you know, and he's like, "Man, incoming pressure's too high." I'm like, "Ain't no fucking way." Sure as shit. And I'm like, "How did I miss that?" You know. But it's just really cool when you get to a level of your craft where, like this principle that we're talking about tonight, where, like, you know, this is the art of business, but the art of the craft itself, the art of the skill, right? The art of the implementation. Like when that shit all comes together, and then you walk away, successful.
Well, because you have to have the art of the skill down before you can do the art of the business. Because we've dealt with general contractors that they've never built anything in their lives. Like they're basically there as construction management. Okay. They you know, quote unquote, know how to run operations when it's shit that they don't understand how to build, you know? And I've seen that before. I mean, look at engineers. I mean, engineers I know that we've dealt with that have never built anything in their fucking life.
So you have to understand some level of constructability.
Right. In order to do it right and get the best possible result for all parties involved, right? I mean, it's one thing for you to come out on top as a general contractor, but if all your fucking subs are pissed throughout the whole process because you're running around backwards, you don't know how how the sequencing is supposed to go and who's supposed to be where at what time, and you know, like saying that fluid aspect of it. There's like, oh yeah, no, I'll just bring in some other asshole to come do the work, and I'll just take my percentage off the top. And it's like, you know, we're fortunate enough to work with really good general contractors. That, you know, even our commercial guys are really good. The custom home builders, dude. Jess Merrithew Construction. Jess is like, we fucking love working with that guy, dude. He is outstanding. You know, the dude knows what he wants, you know, and
he knows how to communicate it.
Yes, exactly. But he knows timing. You know, he doesn't call us up one day. He's like, "Hey, we need your steel here tomorrow." Right.
I did some very, very small projects on a job with you guys and kind of in partnership with you guys on one of his homes. And one thing that I learned to admire about him is his open-mindedness.
Yeah. He's not definitive. It's not like, oh, this is how this needs to be done. He's like, what do you guys think?
This is what I want. Yeah. What do you think? He's like, and then you give it back to him and it's better. And then he's like, okay.
Yep. Let's do that.
Yeah. So that was one thing I really liked about my short interaction with him and getting to work with him a little bit. It was just like, hey, I think, you know, we can do this and this and this, and this is what we'll do. And he's like, okay. wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that machismo fucking chest
Right.
beating bullshit, you get with some of these other guys. I've come to learn in the steel industry, people are far more likely to just let you do your thing because they don't want the fucking liability of whatever's about to happen. You know, they don't want to get involved in it. And, you're flying 7,000 pound beams on a 100-foot stretch. Like, I've noticed that when we show up, the site's cleared out. Everybody's shit is gone and everybody is gone.
They don't want to be standing in there.
Right. They're like, we're just going to be in the fucking way. Especially the custom home stuff. You go up to Clear Creek, most of those lots, it's $1 million for a quarter acre up there. And you're not allowed to drive onto the other lots, even if they're vacant, to build on the lot you're in. You have to stay within the silt fence. And it's just like, shit, there's like not room to fucking do much over there. And it's very difficult to operate in there. But, it's cool to have them understand our art of what we're doing. And they're just like, fucking let the masters work, get the fuck out of the way.
And that comes from just good experience, good communication, good relationship building, good planning, and talking about the kind of the fluid of the operation and the fluidity of the skill set and all of those things in business. And this is one of the pieces I have on my notes here. Because of the art of business is from your initial point of contact with whoever your client is. I don't care if it's a general contractor or a little old lady that needs a garbage disposal put in. From your point of contact all the way through conclusion and collecting, the way that you communicate with her, the way that you bring her with you along that process, right? And along that journey, that way she's not either stuck at the beginning wondering what you're doing
or waiting for you
or
at the finish
waiting
line.
at the end to see if you're done and how much it's going to cost. But when you communicate and connect with them and you do it systematically, and whether that's through phone calls or emails or whatever the client prefers, but you have an efficient way of doing that. And then you continuing to inform and educate them along the journey. Again, continuing to build their excitement, build their buy-in as you're doing those things. And I don't care if it is something as small as a garbage disposal. If you're going to go in and change something out and you have on shoe covers, you have down a drop cloth, you have a bucket or something to catch the stuff when you take it out, and you kind of explain the process, you set expectations, you follow through. There's a 2-word term for all of that. It's called value stacking. And when you do that, when you create that value stacking, that end result, right back to this, that resulting product, that experience that you're going to create is far superior to anybody else in the market.
Right. And there's a fucking art to that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. You don't want to walk in there, just ramble off all the shit you're going to do all at once and just, overwhelm the fuck out of the client. You got to spread that out a little bit and speak in a way that's understandable without all your fucking bullshit jargon.
Don't need your technical jargon. Yeah. Let them enjoy the process. And that's missed so often in a lot of the work that we do, because again, we get wrapped up in the skill itself, wrapped up in the craft, and then we just hammer down until that result is there, until that job's completed, that project's finished. And then when we want to go, ta-da, what do you think? It's like, man, bring them with you. Involve and engage them along that journey, because move that bus, right? That end result is going to have so much more value to it, and it's going to create such a better experience for the client. But you have to understand how to do that.
Yeah.
You have to develop that creativity, that imagination, those skills, those systems, that mindset that's going to allow you to step back and go, okay, what's the most effective way that we can do this?
Yeah.
So
completely agree.
On the point of value stacking, if you understand that every time that you engage with a client, you're either adding or subtracting value.
Yeah. There's no stagnation there.
None.
Yeah.
And by not communicating is not adding.
Yeah, it's definitely taken away.
It definitely subtracts that value. So it's also this, it's kind of a running measurement, if you will, a running metric. You can't measure value.
Right. Right. Because, I mean, it's relative also, right?
Exactly.
You know, just because it's this, you know, if it's valuable to this person doesn't mean it's going to be to somebody else. You know,
Right. But if you remember and understand that every single opportunity you have is adding or subtracting value.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
And when you get so wrapped up in talking about yourself and your craft and your technical ability to solve their problem, they don't care because it's not adding value to them.
That's why they hired you. So that they don't have to fucking think about that shit.
Yeah, they already assume you know how to do those things.
If they don't, there's some other alternative. You're about to end up tied up in somebody's basement, you know?
Well, my brother's cousin's friend said he could do it for us.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Why are you calling me then?
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah. It's also triple to come back and fix whatever they fuck up while they're doing that.
If you come back.
If we come back. Yeah.
If we come back. Part of the conversation I was having this morning, too, we were talking about the standard market value price. And it was pretty funny because I had forgot what the prices were like in the Midwest.
Ooh, yeah.
Way different.
Yeah, you can also buy a house for $30,000.
You can.
So.
But he's, you know, he said, I had this situation yesterday, bid a job, told him this was the hourly rate. And he said they ended up coming back, said I think it was like my dad's friend said he can do it for this amount. And I told him, I said, hopefully you realize you did not want that client.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, I told him, I was like, okay, great. You got someone, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, no big deal. I said, let's look at $5 an hour in the standard market value of your company. I said, you have the tooling, you have the truck, you have the trailer, you have the uniform, said, everything you're creating is an experience. And I said, you can't allow someone that says that, well, I can get so-and-so to do it for $5 an hour cheaper.
Like, why would they not just go pick that person? Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to pitch this against this guy. And he's going to get into a bidding war with this fictitious person I made up.
Yeah, and that's it. The reality is, if they're focusing on the price, we've said this on here before, as a contractor, it's not your job to find their money.
Mm-hmm.
You can either work within their budget or you can't.
Right.
Don't devalue yourself trying to create a free service for somebody else. You also have to understand what your value is and how to communicate that. Mm-hmm. And you do that through identifying the want or need of the client and providing options of solutions. Because if you don't, then they end up focusing on the price because they think they're getting the same thing for less money.
Right, right.
So back to tonight's conversation, there's an entire art of how to allow the client the opportunity to see the value that you provide in solving their problems.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to do that.
Yeah. And it takes some fucking learning too. God, I fucked that up so many fucking times along the way. Like when you say something and you just see that dead look in somebody's face, you're like, oh, yep, I botched that one. They're going with somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, like you think you're being helpful and you think you're providing, you know, information or trust within these people. And then you just end up talking yourself out of a job.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because you end up focusing on the money too.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that you allow someone to dictate your value and you believe them, now they think that you're trying to steal from them.
Yeah.
Well, why were you trying to charge me that in the first place?
Right. Yeah. Well, we had a buddy that's getting a fucking house built. It's a custom home. And it's like, it's going to be a big build, you know, and they're putting a lot of money into it. And he was like, I went and talked to this custom home builder. He came back with this absurd number. And I told him, like, yeah, no, we can't afford that. And then not even 24 hours later, the dude comes back and had knocked $100,000 off of it. And he's like, I'm sure as fuck not using him now. He was able to knock $100,000 out of that thing, like, overnight. Like,
right.
How much is he fucking making off of this goddamn house that he can knock that much off overnight, you know?
But, okay, so in the custom home market, that's really easy to do. Because all I'm going to do is change your allowances. Mm-hmm. And knock the price down.
Right.
So now instead of $50,000 for a kitchen, it's probably $30,000 or $25,000.
Right.
And then instead of $30,000 for bathrooms, it's $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of $40,000 or $50,000 for flooring, it's $12,000.
Right.
Like I can shave $100,000 off of a custom home build pretty fast by adjusting the allowances. But where the failure really lies is the contractor's lacking ability to communicate that
yeah.
to the client.
Right. They're just like, oh yeah, we pulled $100,000 out, and they're like, fuck you, dude.
Right.
You were going to make $100,000 on me, but yeah, like you said, they didn't tell them, oh, hey, you're getting a shittier kitchen, which most people, they don't want to sacrifice that either, if you're not conveying that, and having a little artistic flair to it while you're communicating that,
Yeah. And then what did it do? It immediately broke trust with the contractor.
Right.
Because he didn't understand how to connect with his client and really identify their want or need. Mm-hmm. And I saw that a lot in the construction industry. People, because your job is to identify what they want. And some people get very creative. Mm-hmm. We did a custom mantle, and I way underbid this thing, but we ended up doing a custom mantle for these people. And they said there was a little discrepancy in the size of television that he wanted and what she wanted.
Oh, it's going to be whatever she wanted.
It was it was a cathedral ceiling. The high part of it was going to be a false chimney with a mantle to hold a big screen. Mm-hmm. And the high point was 14 feet in the air. So I think it was like 11 or 12 on one side, 14 on the other to follow the cathedral. But I could tell he really wanted this 80-inch TV. Mm. And she wanted a 65. Well, in TV, 65 to an 80 is not significant.
Right.
It was to them. Mm. So I got the tape measure out and some blue tape. And I said, if we build it to the 65, it's going to look like this. If we build it to the 80, it's going to look like this. It was 12 inches of difference, right?
Right.
And then, so we ended up building it for the 80. We put a custom fireplace in it. They just wanted an electric one. They literally wanted it for the lights.
Right.
We put a custom little electric fireplace in it. But this mantle ended up being 10 feet wide, this whole thing.
Holy shit.
We put, it was like a concrete, kind of like a mortar stone. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that, what do they call it, a faux? That fake shit.
Right.
It was rock. It was a concrete. Yeah. It was a concrete mixture. So we did that all the way up. And a friend of mine who is a genius finish carpenter custom built this mantle. We got done. I had walked them through the entire experience. We got all the way done. Signed it. They paid, and then she goes, "I want custom cabinets built on each side."
Oh shit!
I said, "That's my friend." Mm-hmm. Here you go. I exited out of it.
Right.
The point is, I clearly understood what they really wanted, mm-hmm. and I just laid out those expectations.
Don't be in there stirring up the fucking pot just because you want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and they weren't like, "Well, this isn't. We can't afford that." People care more about what they want than whether or not they can afford it.
Right. I mean, like, sales is ultimately a linguistic art, right?
Agreed.
I mean, your speech is everything when it comes to sales, and it's, you're not trying to be a fucking creepy piece of shit. You're just trying to give people what they want. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot to extract that from people too, especially when you're building shit for them.
Yeah.
Like, when people, they have this rough idea of what they want and they have zero idea how to attain it, mm-hmm. let alone tell you what it is that it is.
Yep.
They can't give you a fucking drawing. They can't give you any sort of spec. So you got to walk them through this process and try to extract everything out of them that you can. And it's a fucking art to do that. It
really is. One of my favorite sales calls that I ran. This was, I had the HVAC company, and this gentleman had a business in my hometown. He was from my hometown. He was a couple years older than me, and the air conditioner, it died in August.
Ooh.
And there was no repairing the unit. It wasn't even an option. Mm-hmm. He also had a 7 or 8 month pregnant wife at home.
Oh shit!
With no AC in the middle of August in the Midwest.
Ooh.
So automatically a lot of external factors are coming into play. Mm-hmm. And so I meet with him, and he asked that I come to his office because of his schedule. I said, happy to accommodate. I went to his office, and I remember sitting down at a desk going over these, and he's asking this question, he's asking this question, and he's doing that. He's like, what about this? Because I had 2 or 3 options for upgrading mm-hmm. his entire system. And you could tell he was getting anxious, and he was getting really stressed. And he looked at me, he said, I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions. He said, I just want to make sure. And I looked at him and called him by his first name because it's part of the psychology of sales. And so I looked at him and said, Nate, I'm here to serve you. I want to make sure that you make the best decision for you and your family, and that we provide you with the best solution. And his entire body language changed. And he looked at me and he goes, I really appreciate that. And he bought an $8,000 system.
Shit.
Because I wanted him to know that I really wanted to know what his concerns were.
Right.
I wanted to know what's your idea?
Yeah.
What do you have painted in your mind? What are your concerns? How can we solve these problems? And he chose the best system for him and his family.
Right.
And then it was a mad dash to get it in, so she didn't murder him for being pregnant and hot. Yeah. But you're right. It is there is a linguistic art to it. Psychology comes into play.
Yeah.
But what I've learned over a lot of years of working with clients and kind of the art of selling is, if people feel like you're trying to sell them something,
they're not buying.
They're not buying.
Yeah.
And when I learned that, it took all the stress away from me as a technician and as a salesperson to try to sell. And still to this day, it was a specific training that I went to that taught me that skill set that I put you through. I remember when you and I went, through it together. It completely changed my mindset in a way that it gives me confidence now, because I didn't feel like I was selling anymore. I felt like my job there is to identify the want or need. That's why I create, it's like one of the secrets of business. That's why it's so important.
Right.
I was just, my job is to ask questions.
Yeah.
My job is to develop trust. My job is to connect with those people, right? The 5 C's.
Yeah.
And then my job is to say, these are the options that we provide that will solve your problem.
Yeah. I mean, like on our side too, it's like the custom ornamental stuff. Dude, that stuff's, I mean, it's really easy to sell it, right? But extracting, because some of these railing systems, people are paying $350 a linear foot for. When you got 150 feet on a back patio, that fucking adds up really quick, so extracting that from them, but also understanding that you are selling them art. You're not just selling them some safety system to keep their dumbass from falling off of their patio. It's something aesthetically pleasing that they want to look at.
I think being able to recognize that distinction is important, because it's going to dictate your approach and your conversation with that client. Because if they want something that serves a purpose, which most of the time it will, but if they want to add on the artistic factor, it's really important that you concentrate on that part. Because you can sell them a railing that serves the purpose.
Right.
They want to be creative with it. They want to solve the problem, but also complement their lifestyle, their house, their whatever.
Insane custom home.
Right.
Yeah. That's the thing. You walk into this place and the house is done being built. We throw WAG numbers in there for all the ornamental iron, but it's like, this house is fucking gorgeous. And this is like, they just spent $10 million on this home. And this is the last little cherry on the fucking cake. This is going to give them their C of O so they can live in this home. So not only do they want this gorgeous railing that's going to complement the rest of the house, they want it fucking quick because they want to be able to use that goddamn house that they just spent all that money on.
It's either going to be the cherry on top, or it's going to look like a dick in a pickle jar. It's like,
what? Have you ever seen a dick in a pickle jar?
I assume it's going to stand out. Sweet baby diddle. I don't know.
Is it kosher?
But in my conversation with that client, I'm not going to focus on the just the constructive aspect of it. Of like, you have railing. Like, I really want to understand. I want to create a conversation that is going to allow them to paint me a picture. And I want to make sure that I am able to deliver on that. And when you do, and you provide those options, this is the monetary investment to bring this to life.
Right.
A $10 million home, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because they want this brought to life.
Yeah. Your $100,000 worth of railing.
Yeah. Give a shit.
Yeah. Dropping the fucking bucket.
Yeah.
Dude.
They want that, because the other cool thing is, they're going to brag to their friends about how much they spent on that railing.
Oh yeah, dude, and the entry gates, dude, selling that shit because it's like, say, like we want to make this thing as grand as possible that fits within your parameters of what you want it to look like. Because this is gonna be the first thing that people see when they drive up to your Lake Tahoe fucking getaway cabin. Like you want to impress your friends, dude. That fucking gate opening up, like,
and that butterfly gate that you guys built, up there, just crazy shit like that.
Yeah,
it creates that first impression for the people that roll up.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's what people care about.
Yeah,
it's.
But it's not just the art of building; it's the art of extraction, it's the art of execution, and the art of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when we break it down like this, it makes sense how fucking business owners are artists,
right? And how a lot of them miss a lot of the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
The chuck in the truck that don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, there's a lot of pieces in that equation that are missing.
Yeah,
and that poor bastard is married to a job that they created decades ago, and never developed themselves with the skill set. They didn't evolve with the times of effective communication, effective transfer of information, and really understanding how to create the best experience for the client. They never invested in themselves and understanding and developing the art of it. And man, those are the businesses that really set the standard in the market. The ones that do understand, and that do get that. And it's, when we started the HVAC industry, we're in a saturated market in parts of the state that didn't have a lot of money, and we thrived because we set the standard.
Right.
We created a new experience. Everything that we did in our approach to the market was purposely different than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take long. You start seeing people in your industry copying you.
Yeah, right.
Especially the heavy hitters in the industry. They'll start copying you to kind of distort that perception in a way that benefits them. Mm-hmm. It's called business.
Right.
That's competition.
Yeah.
But understanding that, and it's like, okay, what are we known for in the market? How do our clients perceive us? What is it that we can do and improve on? How can we better connect, create a better experience? It's like, man, when you get that right, and we were talking about earlier, the fluidity of that. Like when you see somebody that is really not done learning, but is really a master of those things,
right?
In the way that they engage and you're not getting that client away.
Yeah, dude, the first couple times that you nail that, you can just like feel it in your nuggets.
You can.
If you're just like cloud nine walking away from an experience like that, especially after the bill's been paid.
That's right.
Like you walk out of there with the check in hand and you're like, dude, we fucking crushed that start to finish, and the client sitting there waving with a big ass smile on their face.
Yeah.
Is there $30,000 gates closed behind you as you drive off, But,
yeah. It's a really cool thing to not only understand, but create and implement. This perspective, and when you said that to me, my mind started going 100 miles an hour. I'm like, I love this side of business, because this is all headspace.
Yeah,
right. This is all mind.
Once you quit looking at it like it's a fucking chore, and start looking at it as that you're creating something beautiful for you and everybody else to enjoy, like it changes the way you approach it.
It does. When we would do work on a lower income home, single wide trailer, if we had to replace ductwork, or smaller homes, people that didn't have a lot of money, I always told my team, I said, here's the deal. I don't care how much money they make. This is what they agreed to, and they have made a decision to invite us into their home. Not their house, not their trailer, not their whatever, to their home.
Yeah.
They made a decision to invite us into their home, and that's exactly how we're going to treat it. And that was how I tried to create the perspective for my team and the image of the business. That's how we behaved. That was how we treated people. And I probably got more compliments from people with less money than more money.
Right.
Because we didn't treat them any differently.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is
across the board.
it's across the board. This is the integrity of our company.
Yeah.
And we did all of the things that we needed to do to teach, learn, and lead the team to be able to see through that same lens and share that same perspective. So just good conversation, man. I geek out on shit like this. Like this stuff is so fun for me because it's what I really appreciate about you sending it to me, especially with the word art in it, is this is kind of, I don't know if it's taboo in the trades, but it's definitely not the first conversation people are going to have in the skilled trades. Right. Most of the people in the conversation that they have is some fucking stupid thing that they did last night.
Right.
I don't care about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the fact that this is a little bit off color for the trades, a little bit taboo for the trades, also excites me. I'm like, yeah, this is the shit that you need to be fucking knowing. You need to learn this. You need to understand how important this is in developing and creating success. So...
Well, thank God I smoked that joint on my couch the other night.
It stared at a wall. You're just like, here, let's talk about this.
Like, here, Josh, it's an idea. You refine it. I'll jump in whenever I can.
When you sat down, I was like, all right, we're going to go through this and this. And you said, whatever you say, I'm not really sure where the conversation is going to go. Fucking awesome.
Right.
But anything to add?
No, I think we got it.
Got it. You can find Nate on Instagram at NateNewton87. I am on Instagram at The Tradesman Experience. Email is thetradesmanexperience@gmail.com. Website's thetradesmanexperience.com. And the YouTube channel is The Tradesman Experience.
How do you get that all out in one fucking breath, dude? Jesus Christ. I got winded just watching it.
Oh, I think I'm passing out.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Get out there, get shit done. Be proud to be a tradesman. See ya.